Hello group, Jeff here. Today's video is going to be how to install ASPS plate solver and then how to set up ASPS plate solver for use with Mallincamsky. ASPS plate solver uses the astrometry.net libraries, the open source libraries, to do its offline solving, so you don't need the internet. But to set it up, you do. And this is the key part. It's a little confusing and convoluted. And it will do things that sometimes don't make sense. So I will attempt to get you going here. And once you get ASPS plate solver working with Mallincamsky, it is, if your pointing is a little off because you set up like I do, or you have some bad spots and you can't get a good alignment model because you have a lot of trees like I do, then plate solving's gonna save your day. Save your bacon. So let's go. I'm gonna switch to the desktop and I'll shut this down. And the first thing that we really want to do is to go to ASPS plate solver and download this right here. And this is all we need from this website. The link is right there. Next, we want to go to the Mallincam website, and I'm using the DS26, and we need to grab some numbers off the camera spec. So we would click on the camera spec, and we need some of these numbers right here. And for the DS26, the maximum pixel size at bin 1 is 6244 by 4168. And the chip size, or the cell size, is 3.76 by 3.76. At bin 2, which is what I was using, taking my images at with the 26, you basically divide and multiply. So half of the pixels is 3122 by 2084. And then we multiply the 3.76 to get 7.52. And then I'm not sure if we need this, but we'll grab it. It's the chip size, which is 27.780 millimeters horizontal by 22.302 millimeters in the vertical. So we're done with that. Now we're going to go to the downloads, and when you download the ASPS plate solver, it's called install exec. I made it this because I've been installing and uninstalling, trying to recreate an error a group member was having, and I was able to create that error. So let's get going. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to install ASPS plate solver. I want English. That folder is perfect. That's good. That's good. And ASPS plate solver will put an icon on the desktop. I don't like a lot of icons on my desktop because, believe it or not, people, Windows boots slower if you have a lot of icons on the desktop. I like to boot fast because I'm always booting. When this is finished, I want to show you something in the File Explorer here. So if we go to the C drive, Users, and whatever the name of your computer is, for me it's Jeff R, App Data, and to see this you have to go to View, Options, View, and then you would have to show hidden files and folders to see the app data folder. We'll double click on the app data, go to local, and this astrometry folder wasn't there before. It just got installed. But if we go in there, there's nothing. So when we run AllSky Plate Solver for the first time, what is going to happen is it's going to give us a, boy, am I glad you picked me. And now it's going to install those astrometry.net local libraries. And it may take a few minutes, and how you will know is we'll go back and we'll see this get populated. And this is just to give you a rough idea on time. I figure it's about a minute. Maybe a little over, minute 30. This is the big guy right here. This is also the same folder that those index files get put into, or indices, whatever we want to call them here. And when this is done, we should get a little icon pop up to show that it's unzipped all these folders. And there it is. And you'll see that now we have all of the libraries, everything we need from astrometry.net is now local on the hard drive. And why this is important is because astrometry, or AllSky Plate Solver, can run without the internet. But we need to download these files first. So I'm going to just shrink this down. And now it's telling me that it can't find those indexes. And do I want to load them? I do not, because I don't know my numbers yet. So we will say no. I'll get rid of this image. And I will pick one. And what we will do is I'll try and pick one that I think, oh, I'm sorry. I did it. Sorry. I want to go to settings. Settings assistant, and I want to load that in here. And let's pick this guy, NGC 891. And then you'll see that step 2 is highlighted, and this was a bin 2 image, so it's 7.52 from my numbers that I wrote down. And now step 3 is highlighted, and if I click on it, it's going to take me to astrometry.net, and I need to upload that same file. Oops, sorry. This guy here, and upload it. It shouldn't have too much trouble with this image. And we're doing this for one number, and you will see in a second why this is important. And this can take a few minutes. We'll just hang here so it'll give you, now it's loaded it, and it's waiting to start the processing. If I click on the go to support, or the submit page here, we can see the neat thing is it hasn't done it yet. So it's in the queue and it hasn't started processing yet. Now it's started. So now I should have the extraction, and it should be picking all the stars it needs to do its plate solve on astrometry.net. There it is. So the biggest reason for me to plate solve is that because of my tree problem, and using the star sense, I can do in the summertime, I can do a 3-point model. So if I set up star sense to do an auto align, star sense auto align, it will do the first 3 no problem, and then it starts slowing to an edge of a tree. So I'm probably getting maybe 40% of the stars, and it really doesn't solve that very well. And it could hang on that for a couple minutes. So I just found that it's easier to cancel out that last point or star. And then I have a 3-point model, which is good in all areas where that model was built. It's just bad in the spot where I couldn't get that last align. And what I have found by using plate solve software is that I am just off the edge of the sensor. I mean, just. So my pointing isn't that bad in that area. Okay, so what we want is the pixel scale right here. And the pixel scale is 5.72 arc seconds per pixel. And we will enter that right here. 0.5, what was it? 0.572? 0.572, yes. And now you calculate your focal length. And it's going to ask if I want to update the settings window. I'm going to say yes. And then it's going to say, now your all-sky plate solver should be able to perform plate solving of the images taken with the optics and camera. But I don't have any indices. So now we need to go to the Indices installation wizard. And this is where you can enter the chip array in pixels. And oops, I want to enter the 3122 by 2084. And this is going to take a little bit. So I will install the indices and I'll just let it go. And I will come back. So as you can see, it can take a little bit to, especially for me because I have such a small field of view, so I'm towards the upper end of the indexes here where I need a lot of images to be able to solve the C14 at either f7 or f11. When you get into longer focal lengths, you're down in this side. And you don't need as many files to be downloaded. So once this is done, we have all the information we need. I don't need to register because I already did it once. So I'm going to say no. And the next thing we want to do is to go into the plate solver settings. And you want to make sure that your focal length is here, your pixel size is here. I do not take an image with this software. I use Mallincamsky, so this is never on. And if you're doing it through the ASCOM, you can only have one camera being used at a time with software. So whether it's the ASCOM driver or whatever, one app one camera. You can't have Mallincamsky up with the camera turned on and hope you can get an image through the ASCAM driver. It is not going to happen. I have, in my case, I synchronized my ASCAM mount and I used the CPWI ASCAM driver. There are no properties, and I just say okay. If you were to, on successful click and plate solves, execute the sync mount, what that would do is take the image, solve, and then sync automatically. We're not doing that. So the big thing for us is to be able to get the correct size of the pixel scale so that the numbers can calculate the focal length. And once we have that, then you can get your indices or indexes, and then you can start solving images. And for me, that's all I need right there. I'll say okay, and then I will save this, save settings, and I will go to my documents folder because you don't want to save it in the, I think I have a plate solve. Yes, I do. And I already had one going, so I'll just overwrite this and say save. So now I have these numbers saved, and if I change my scope around so that I went from f7 to f11, and I changed the camera from the 26 to the 432, I would have to do this again. And I would go through the same steps. When the settings assistant is done, then I would have to go and get my indices, and chances are I have most of them already, but it will tell you in here, it will, when you enter all your data again, it will highlight in yellow what you need to download. If they're already downloaded, it won't download them again. So what we can do is, just to see if this works, we'll plate solve this guy. And it's basically the same image as this. And we should get, okay, I'm not going to sync the mount, but we should get 02, 22, 32, yep, right there. 42, 22, 09. Perfect. We're not getting the fractions, but I don't care. I mean, that's nothing. So as you can see, the plate solve works. To use it with Mallincamsky, all you need to do is if your target hasn't hit the sensor, snap an image, save it as a JPEG in a folder that AllSky Plate Solver can find, load it into AllSky Plate Solver, and then hit Plate Solve. And it will find your coordinates. Then you would, when it asked you to sync the mount, you would say yes. And then whatever you were using to slew to the target, then you would hit you would re-slew to the same target. And you'll find that most of the time, I think it's only happened to me once where I've had to slew plate solve twice since I've been using this, and that was in the lowest part of my sky in my problem area. It was a lot of mud from the atmosphere, so I consider that to be a success. Anytime you can be in the 90s in this game, you're doing pretty good. So with all of this information, I hope that you got enough information and you can watch this video and stop it where you to follow along, because there are, like, those indexes can take a half hour to load if you've got like a long focal length. It's going to download a lot of data at 3.5 gigabytes. I want to give you an idea of what's going on. But once that's done, then you don't need the internet anymore. You snap an image, save it as a JPEG, load it into AllSky Plate Solver, and click on Plate Solve. It will take usually under 30 seconds, and then it will ask you if you want to sync them out. You'll say yes or no, and then go back and re-slew to the target, and you are golden. If you have any questions, you know where I live. See you in the group. Thanks, guys and gals.